What is being expressed is this stunning ordinariness. From the deepest void, this entire apparent world, this tangible world emerges. Thought, in essence, is nothing but ripples adorning the surface of this boundless vastness of nothingness within this expansive realm of tranquility. This tranquility, this unknowable peace, the universal spectacle of hues, shapes, and movements unfolds within this immense, immense emptiness that defies the distinction between the imaginary character and the unknowable it or this. The movement of the clouds, the stillness of the air, the little Zoom boxes, some with moving faces, smiling, staring obliviously, still pictures, blank pictures, the madness of the suggestion of separation, the void staring at the void. In this boundless void, in this abyss without any origin or any conclusion, exists solely this, only this, only this, only this, only the essence of what is and nothing more. Just this, without any eyes to witness it, no ears to hear it, no tongue to savor it, or nose to smell it. Eyes or seeing would obscure it, ears would muffle it, a tongue would strip it out of its flavor. When the illusory mind silences its incessant chatter, the never-ending this or that, this is it. This tumultuous silence, this volcanic serenity, this volcanic serenity. From everything springs back and forth, and will all things eventually return, although there's no this or that or no before or after. This is it. This is it. However, to contemplate this is to lose it. To grasp this is to miss it. It can never be an object of cognition, a subject of knowing. It eludes the grasp of thought. When that volcanic silence erupts, all of the words and thoughts melt like molten lava or rocks, lava rocks, bubbling in mute. All thoughts are like embers set ablaze by the deepest void of emptiness. And the stunning ordinariness, the sweet cream that melts with the coffee, the smells. Good morning. The simplicity of everything, the yum, the complex tastes that makes up the deliciousness of the ordinariness of just this, only this, simply this. Yet it is all silenced by the eruption of quietness that dissolves everything into this singularity without a pause, without an opposite, divided by the crackling of the noise of separation, this glorious unicity, this, and this, and this, and this, even not this is already. Apparently, seekers, although there are no seekers really, have quested for that timeless hush, what is being expressed as this or what is, amidst life's busyness. But they never really discover it because it defies any discovery. It precedes the notion of searching and finding. It precedes thought, although there's no prior to thought, although prior is just another thought. Prior to knowing, prior to logic and reason, because there's no prior or after. It's just this. In this directness, in this obviousness, it's which is perceived presently, but without a perceiver. In this very moment, this momentless moment, it is now with no before or after. Once it is conceived of it, this unknowable it is already dissipated. It's already gone. It's already done, transformed into a new moment, although there is no other moment other than this. The pursuit obstructed by the very perception of the unknowable it. A moment ensnared by the thought is already aged, it's already lifeless, it's already dead. It's dead on arrival. And the very seeker that wants to write about it basically wrote its own death, its own demise. If even it's believed that it has been uncovered, it has genuinely been forfeited. So this stunning ordinariness that does not require anything at all, that very longing for that volcanic eruption of infinite silence, is deaf to the silence it wants to hear, since it has already exploded, and all that is ever left is this stunning ordinariness. Just this stunning ordinariness. Nothing less, nothing more, just this. Although it can appear as more or less, but it's always this. And what's being expressed here is just the obviousness of this ordinariness. It's just the absence, but also the fullness. It's the pause, and it's the never-ending chatter. It's the longing, but never finding. All that ever is left is just this unconditional freedom of this stunning, stunning ordinariness, this wow. It has always just been this. It's been this all along. And what this is unknowable. But that's not necessarily bad. It's actually the obviousness of it, that it cannot be figured out. The seeming complexity of trying to figure out something that is so simple, so profoundly simple that it does not require trying to be figured out. And what is being expressed here is just the, oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. And there's nothing needed after that wow. If you have any questions, please go ahead. You can write a question or you can raise a hand. Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Hello.
I have like a million questions, but I'll start with
Go
mm, I feel like when you said in your introduction just now, when the chatter of the mind
Yeah.
quietens, that just doesn't happen for me.
Yeah.
And so,
There's always this silence, right? And when there is this silence that is infinitely there, it can never leave, right? That is when it's seen the obviousness of it, that what is being longed for is in the chatter. It's not about getting rid of it. It's not about
right.
waiting for something to happen, but it's seen that it's like that glorious kind of like, unicity, that it cannot really be separated.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be discovered because it's beyond discovery. It's already this. So that's what's being expressed here, right? That that ordinariness of not doing anything, although there is an attempt to do something, an attempt to quiet the mind, is just this. It's like when you have been stung, stunned, and slapped by the ordinary. It doesn't matter what you think of it or not think of it. It's always this.
Right.
And it
Including
doesn't
the
have to
thought.
make sense, right? It's trying to make sense of what's being said. Is like, it's like waiting for that slap when it's already been slapped to death.
Yeah. I just and then at the moment my days seem to be like going through like these just waves of like terror and despair,
Yeah.
and then kind of like an opening into that, and then that it's like there's like a piece that comes in that,
Yeah.
and then that becomes the practice,
Yeah, because there
right?
is
So
yeah. So what's
yeah,
happening is that although there is no you, involved in this, it tries to involve it in an imaginary, illusory, you know, attachment to
right,
what seems to be happening, right? So rather than seeing the eruption and the quietness, the surging and the diminishing, the ups and downs and then everything, it becomes the up, it becomes the down, it becomes the terror, it becomes the longing for the silence, right? So it has nowhere to cling to anymore. So it keeps on clinging to what is seemingly personalized or grasped as this is happening to me.
because and I think that the thing that is very convincing is the
But who is it convincing before you go there? But go ahead. Please go ahead.
no, that's good.
Yeah, because it keeps on coming up with excuses and thoughts and ideas of why it's going through this. And it can only really function in a
Mm.
framework of thoughts. So the character can only be, just be coming up with more illusions. It doesn't see
Right.
the openness. It doesn't see the vibrancy, the the unknowable, because it only operates in knowing. So it's what's being figured out, what trying to be figured out is unfigure outable or unknowable, but it keeps on circling around in knowing, in grasping.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
so fucking unbearable.
Yeah. Because it is maintaining its reality by coming up with ideas of what reality is, of what should be real, or what
Yeah,
should be the case when it's already the case. So it keeps
but
on,
yeah,
but go ahead, sorry.
no, and the thing about that is, and about what you're saying is that like it keeps circling around, it keeps
Yeah.
rolling, but like
So it
there's
keeps on
not like a
operating in
thing.
complexity, right? But in the pursuit of the simplicity, it goes the opposite, seemingly. Again, there's no opposite. These are just
Exactly.
words. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
rather than seeing the simplicity that is inherently innocent, it goes into I got this, I don't got this, I deserve this, I don't deserve this, I'm wrong, I'm right. It just keeps on, which is basically what's happening is it's swimming in its own arrogance rather than sinking in and drowning in the innocence of it all. Does that make any
Including
sense?
itself. Including
Yeah,
itself.
including itself. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the self or no self because it does not exist.
Yeah, there's just been such a latching on to the concept
Yeah.
of no self.
Again, that's the seeming kind of like I've been talking for quite a while now, seemingly, and I've done a lot of privates, right? And that's what seems to get stuck is that when there's an idea that there's a self or a no self to fall away or to drop away, then it keeps on waiting for the next rather than admitting that it's already pointless because it's already done. There's already no self, or self is just what is seemingly happening. Self or no self is just what is. So it can only hang on into the opposition, into the opposites. But there are no opposites. So the illusion can only function in opposites, this or that. But there's no such thing. So it's
And
kind of
there
like holding on to something that it can hide under. And then when it gets caught, it goes the opposite side again, right? For example, if there is this, oh, this is it. And then he gets the idea that there's no me here. But when there is a flood of thoughts that there's still a me here, then it clings back into it. So it just goes back and forth.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah,
what's happening
that's what's
all
happening,
day.
right? It's like that meing and being kind of like thing, but there's no meing and there's no being because both are just made up.
And there's also no being and no meaning. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. There's
yeah,
no nothing at all, or not even that, right? So it's beyond the comprehension. So the only functioning of what seems to be appearing is just the clinging into the idea that I am here or I want to be not here. In a many
yeah,
variations of that, right? It's kind of like there's going to be some kind of like what I was saying, that there's this it's already inherently empty, but it keeps on filling it up with ideas of what empty is, right? It's already this. So it gets caught up basically in its own BS.
it just doesn't stop. Like, that's the thing. And I
So
guess,
what?
but
If
that's
it's
okay.
BS, yeah, so what?
But it's believed.
But who's believing it? So it just keeps on, it will just be it will just be backed up by another belief, another thought, another BS, another idea. There's always another when there's no another. So what seems to appear, even if it seems not preferable, is also what is. So for example, if it seems to be clinging to the idea of separation, that's also what is. It's what is no matter what it is. And that seems to be the conundrum, right? That there is something that needs to change, or not. There's a waiting for the next moment, a dissipation, a transformation into something new. When there's nothing new, this is always new. There's no other
Mm.
moment. There's no next. So the pursuit, basically, of longing for that one is what seems to keep the seesawing or the ups and downs and everything as something that is personalized. Kind of like what I said. It's kind of like I am going through this, and there's nothing wrong with that thought. It's just a thought. It's also what is, but it's looking for solidity, but it doesn't have anything to land on. Do you
And
notice
then
that sometimes, that there's just like it tries to be this, and then when there's this kind of like serenity, or there's this quietude and everything, and it goes into chaos.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
and then it's kind of like, so more recently there's been a kind of like a bit of a giving up, like, oh, I just nothing and no
That's
one is
also
gonna
it.
save me.
That's
Yeah,
also
right.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it's like, oh well, I shouldn't go on a call with Emerson because then I'm gonna like believe that he's got the answers again. So I should, and then I like completely isolate myself
Yeah.
so that I don't get triggered into thinking some, like, romantic partner or you or whoever is going to save me. But like, so it become, then, you know what I mean? So then that becomes my religion.
See, do you see just what happened there, right? So the belief in you, what I'm saying, is maintained by the belief in others. It's always this or that. It's almost the opposite. That somebody, no one has the answers, and there's no answers that's going to be given to you because you're not even there. It's just a thought. It's a feeling. It's this seeming contraction, this boundlessness. Everything can appear. There's no answers. There's no truth. And rather than seeing that is what's just happening, meaning that that's just what seems to be occurring in this appearance of unfolding, and sometimes there is this heaviness and there's this openness and everything, but no one has the answers to relieve you of any of that because there's no you to be relieved in that.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. It's almost like this. You know what? For example, if you're eating something really sweet, it's sweet. It's just that. If you're eating something salty, it's salty, or it could be a combination of both. It's the directness of it. There's no middleman that's going to change your mind that, I need this to be salty when it's sweet. Do you see what I'm trying to get at here? You can't avoid it because there's no you behind it.
Right.
Yeah. There's no
So,
you.
okay. So
Yeah.
it's like there's a moment of release, and then the mind is like, or
So, for example, there's a moment of relief, right? So the mind captures that and says, that's my relief. Oh, I'm so great now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes, it was because I stayed with my pain, stayed with my anger,
yeah,
did this
but
trauma
there's no
work.
you to stay in that. See, that's the thing. That's
Okay.
the thing, right? So, for example, there's this relief. So this relief, like, oh, wow, it's so great. I'm walking, in the morning and there's the golden sunshine and wow, this is so beautiful. Wow, wow, wow. And all of a sudden there's a coyote that appears on the side that's howling, which happened this morning, by the way. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that's not my peace anymore. It is what it is, no matter what it is.
But
So
including the thought, that's not my peace anymore.
exactly. But the moment that it gets caught up in that thought, when it runs in circles, right? How did I lose my peace? Oh, I want to get that, but damn coyote, all this kind of stuff, all this whatever kind of like seems to appear. Then it holds on to that moment that already seemingly passed as its identity, and it's waiting for the other moment to reclaim its identity.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah. No, but like, it's just, I think it's so tricky because
So let's just put it this way: there's no you in moments.
There's just moments.
It's just moments, yeah. And it's not even that even, right? It's just this unknowable, which we call moments, which we call this, which we call momentlessness or whatever, or social, whatever seems to appear. So if we yank out all the words and it's just this kind of like what I said, this stunning ordinariness, it's just, for example, walking, you know what I'm saying? Let's just cut all the words, just walking, like really kind of like walking in the morning, and there is a coyote. And the coyote, you know what I'm saying, is howling, meaning it's threatened. So you start making noise, you know what I'm saying, to shoo it away, basically. And then you start walking. It's not, when there is a person that's guarding its moment, meaning that it's guarding its peace or clarity, then it will start avoiding that moment, you know what I'm saying, and trying to capture that peace and clarity. So at that moment, there might be panic. There might be kind of like, oh shit, better get out of here. That's also it. Yeah. So it's almost like, when there is a disillusionment, for example, if you're standing by the light and then you're focused on your shadow, the shadow is just a shadow. It's not real. And it doesn't matter to get rid of the shadow or not, because it's just a shadow.
But what if it's not seen as not real, like all the time?
Then it's just a shadow seemingly thinking that it's not real all the time. It's just, that's also a shadow.
Right.
That's also a thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no, okay.
Again, there's no you in it, really, even if it feels that there's a you in it, right? There's always just this, whatever it is that seems to be happening, right? It could be glorious. It could be scary. It could be this golden walk, and all of a sudden this terrifying, trying to get away from that coyote. It's all of that is this. It's not like my golden walk is ruined, so therefore I'm not at peace anymore. Nothing is ruined. It's perfectly as it is, no matter what it is.
But you don't convince yourself of that.
No, there's no one to convince. See?
I know.
Yeah.
But there is.
You're going in the direction of knowing when this doesn't have any direction. And the direction of knowing will just keep on an infinite loop of knowing. It's a circular thing.
Yes.
I know, but I don't know. I know, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I need to figure it out.
It really, really do.
Yeah. When it's seen that there is just all of this appearance, it's kind of like, you know what? Let's go back into that analogy of like, driving a car that's driving automatically. No matter what you do in the car, you're not in control of it.
Well, because there's no you.
There's no
controlling it.
you. Yeah. It's just running automatically. It might stop, it might turn left, it might turn right, it might do a U-turn, it doesn't matter. But since there's no you in it, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated, right? There is no you that's harmed as well. There's no you in danger.
Yeah, because that's a real.
Yeah.
I have a lot of health issues.
Yeah.
And so when I'm like out and my symptoms flare up,
yeah,
it feels like I'm like there's something in danger.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And but when that seemingly appears as this idea of you again, right? Mm-hmm. Again, you, the imaginary, you can only function in the framework of thoughts, mm-hmm. sensations, ideas, all that kind of stuff, right? It's just all this imaginary things. So all it does is just perpetuates this imagination of reality. Since it is inherently sees that there's no reality, or it's kind of like, there's just this unknowability because it is unknowable, then it tries to know itself in what it knows. But it can never know itself because it's unknowable. It's not separate from the whole.
Okay.
Yeah. So to circle back to what's being said, right? It's just it's almost like there's this. It's just ripples. There's a noticing of all the ripples on the surface of this really clear, still lake. It's already clear, even with the ripples. Does that make any sense? So no matter what seems to appear in the ripple and everything, the ripple effect and everything, it's just this. It can appear as still, it can appear as ripples. It can appear as waves, it can appear as whatever. But there's no you in it. It can appear as a you, it can appear as a no you, but it's always this, a knowable this. And it will not make sense because there's no you to make sense of it. So it could take you to the highs, it could take you to the lows, but there's no you that's being taken in it. The idea that you're being, going to highs and lows and everything is simply that. Again, there's no you to witness this. There's no you to perceive this. There's no you to taste this. You can't even smell this.
That's so scary.
But that's what is the unknowableness, right?
Yeah, I know, but that's what I've been sitting with as well.
Or you could even say the opposite. That sounds so liberating, but both are just ideas or ripples of something that's, you know what I'm saying? So we'll come up with ripples and whatever, but it's just what is.
Okay, so what's happening right now is like this kind of like all-encompassing peace.
That's what it is. Yes.
Yeah, but not
your idea of peace, isn't it? Right?
No, and it's like way more all-encompassing.
Yes.
And present, like as in here.
Constantly present. It can never disappear. Right? It's just this all. It's almost like this. There's this fake reality and there's this muted reality, although there's no reality, right? There is this muted, all, inherently perfect. And then there is this chaos that appears. So the chaos is the perfection. Does that make any sense? Because it's all encompassingly peaceful already. So no matter what chaos appears, there's also peace appearing as this ripples or chaos or whatever seems to appear.
Yeah, it feels like now I just want to hold on to this though, but that's
see how quickly it tries to grasp
it? No, honestly, it's like, and then it goes, oh, but you can't, and you're going to get depressed again, and your life sucks.
But who cares if you think of that? That's also what is. See?
Okay.
Yeah. And that's when it's all encompassing.
And the thing right now that I'm gonna take and then I'm gonna shut up is
That's okay.
like
Keep on talking. That's good.
is like because then I was like, oh, it's like Rumi's guest house poem. But the thing is that like I'm not the guest house. Like there's no I that's the guest
No,
house.
no, no.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
that's what fucks everything up. Because then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I did so well, and now oh I'm doing so badly, and like it's just yeah,
This is
yeah.
not an instruction, but just as an expression, right? So I'm going to say this. There's no one that knows this. So holding on to what someone, no matter how beautiful it is, like Rumi and Hafiz and all of that kind of stuff, like that's beautiful, right? The you clings on to that quotes and ideas to maintain you.
Yeah.
See what just happened there? It's kind of like almost like I am the guest house, right? Or I am the empty field. Although there's nothing wrong or right with that statement, it creates this that someone knows this. No teacher,
Yeah.
speaker, poet, sage, or whatever knows this.
And not no higher self and no
No
soul.
higher self, no, and that's why it's so stunningly ordinary. It does not require special knowledge or a special a alignment or attunement or any kind of cognition of what cannot be recognized. It does not require any special power or cities or some intuition or special whatever. All of that is made up.
Yeah, because I really love my own insights. I think they're like
so,
genius. And
so
I like feel like
sometimes,
yeah, and I want to write a book and tell everyone about like how my way is the right way.
and I've got to be
Uh,
blunt here. You know how many times my what do you call that, resonance fucked me?
oh yeah.
So I would be kind of like, oh, I'm resonating with this, guru and everything. And it just screws me over. You know what I'm saying? And there's another one, another one, another one. There's no other. There's
Because
no
there's so
other.
many. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not what they say or what I say or whatever anyone says. It's almost like the the sincerity that there's nothing to say.
Okay, I'm gonna let someone else talk, but I might come back later if that's okay.
Okay. Oh shoot. I did not know that I was not in the spotlight.
I know I felt a little on the spot, but
It's okay. My glasses is crooked. Thank you. Someone said, "Can you fix the both of you in the pic?" Thank you. Yes, Cecilia, like bubbles. Like everything just appears like tiny bubbles. Why is it so elusive to get this? Um, because it's elusive because there's no one. It can't land when there's no one. It can't be grasped when there's no one. It's just that's the simplicity. And that's just really, really simplifying it. Um, there's nothing to get because there's no one to get it. There's no one to know because there's no one to know it. There's nothing to attain because there's no one to attain it. So there's this appearance of this seemingly reality of time and experience, you and I and everything. And there's nothing wrong or right about that, but that is what is being expressed as just this temporal appearance of something that cannot really be captured in time, captured in an experience, captured by you. Because all this is all encompassing, um, it appears even as in that. But it's not about capturing it or trying to grasp it or trying or it's eluding you. It's not eluding anyone. The obviousness is that it's not obvious for anyone. It's just this immediacy that it can't be talked about. Um, the permanence that even saying that is way too much. This constancy of, again, like, just this deliciousness of sipping a cup of coffee. Mm, and the voidness of that. That there's no one behind it. There's no one tasting this. There's really no tongue that's tasting this. And again, that can't be comprehended because from the fixture of the individual, it will say that, well, I taste it. If I didn't have, all that kind of kind of like reasoning and logic of what's something that cannot be logical. Although it appears in everything, including logic. It cannot be denied it's in everything. So the idea that it's elusive is the idea that is not here, or that it's absent, or that it's missing, which is just a bubble of thought, an idea of something that cannot be caught up in idea. It can appear as empty, can appear as full, it can appear as this, it can appear as that. It's in everything. Another question. These figures that appear on my screen seems to be figures of substance, but according to who? According to who? Is the one that's also saying this is just another figure that seems to appear and disappear without any permanence, without any constancy? As I mentioned before, the idea of you can only function in the framework of thoughts, sensations, and all that kind of stuff that seems to appear coming in and out. There's no constancy to whoever's asking the question or the one is trying to figure out what's being said. It's not even in the observation or the experience, because those comes and goes. This is not in the framework of understanding or trying to get something that is so simple that it does not require any kind of comprehension. Question here. How can you be sure of what you're talking about? Um, there's no one here that's sure of anything, and that's what's certain. that's what that's what's obvious. it's the innocence, it's the ignorance of it all. Um, it's just this, and there's no one behind this. The obviousness is that there's no one that can figure this out, and Yeah. Eri shared something that that inspired some of these talks. Something about the wisdom from Alan Watts, the wisdom of uncertainty. Although there's no one, there's no one that's wise or anything like that. It's just all uncertainties. It's this unknowableness, and that's what's being looked at. That's what's looking at this unknowableness. Maria, do you have another question?
Always.
Go ahead.
So there seems to be like this very like melodramatic grief process of
Of
the like
course.
dying me.
Yes.
But when I'm listening to you just now, it's like that doesn't need to happen.
No. Although it's already dead. So why wait for something
Right.
to happen when it's already done? It never even started. There's no you to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always just this, no matter what this is, right? It can appear as one day and like, when am I going to die? Or one day it's like, oh, this feels so great that there's no one here. Both are narratives. You can only come up with stories because you are a story. So the story of you dying, the story of you seeking, the story of you longing, the story of your freedom, even the story that there's no you is a story. There's no landing
Right.
again, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And when I was going a bit bonkers and doing like super extreme spiritual practices, um, I it was all about like dying before I died. So like
Yeah.
pushing myself
To
so
the
much.
limits, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that I would experience the death.
Yeah.
But like now from what you're saying, it's like, and that's kind of what I'm going through again at the moment. I'm not doing any of the weird spiritual practices, but there is
Yeah.
this kind of like, where like, to die before I die. Um, but like maybe die is even the wrong word almost.
That's okay. There's no wrong or right. You know what I'm saying? If that seems to what appears, right? For quite a while, you know what I'm saying? There's just this um um just this grief that I've lost everything. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
I've died. Yeah, it's like all my beliefs are not there anymore, or even my my hidden imaginary, friend, which is God, you know what I'm saying, was
But then
already it's all gone. All of that, all of my tool belt, all my mantras, all that kind of thing, all of everything that perpetuated or perpetually kept me, you know, is gone. So there's like it's almost like getting slapped silly and then getting up and then you going, okay, you know what? It's like saying you're dead. Okay, I need to do this so that I can die, and then slaps again. Okay, I need to.
yes,
So
and
it's getting
I
slapped
think
silly
yes.
over and over again, right? And that's what seemingly seems to be happening. It's kind of like what I'm saying is slapping you
Yeah.
over and over again. And although this is just a story, there's no one slapping you. It's like the cosmos slapping you over and over again. And then all of a sudden you're kind of like, okay, this is what I have to do. There's nothing to do because it's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, this is great. This is
yeah,
gold.
yeah.
Because I've been stuck in a holding pattern of like still like, oh, I need to die, and then yeah, and it's like and the grief thing where it's like all of my beliefs and all of it, and it's like there's a point where it's like that even that is just like there's who's grieving what.
Yeah, exactly. For example, like it's so persistent, this illusion, right? Because that's what an illusion is, that this reality is a persistent illusion that you can't really tell. So it will keep on slapping you, with this persistence of this illusion, but also at the same time, the unknowable slaps. You know what I'm saying? It's slapping. You can't know this. I got to know this. No, you can't know this. I got to know this. You can't know this. I got to know this. And it
I
and it
know that I
just
can't
keeps
know this.
over and over again, right? It's kind of like, and then it creates this suffering until it basically said that, okay, you know what? It's unknowable. It's unknowable. I don't need to get it. It's unknowable. There's no me that needs to know it. And everything that will be said, when it in the framework of thought will just be contradictory to what is already whole and complete, meaning that it doesn't have any opposite.
As you're talking again, there's like this kind of just this release, and it's like, yeah, but it can't be that simple. Like
that's it keeps on getting slapped, and it keeps on kind of like, it keeps on kind of like saying, well, it can't be, I have to know this can't be that simple. It's unknowable. It doesn't matter if it's not simple or not. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's inherently in everything.
Okay.
Everything is unknowable. Everything is this. That's why it's easy for a seeker to get caught up in the idea that this is consciousness, because it's somewhere that they can hang on to, or even that this is nothing. It's something that it can land into. But when both positions drop, there's nowhere to go, isn't it?
What if the body just feels so scary and unsafe, and emotions feel too big and all that shit? Like, is that just all it as well?
That's all it as well, yeah.
So
and
like,
then seeking help for that is also it. You know what I'm saying? If it feels it needs some, I don't know, whatever it needs, you know what I'm saying? Then that's also it. It's not a denial. This is not about denying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
Although denying is also it, which is you know what I'm saying? It's in everything. It's in everything. It's in everything. I was talking to a couple of people that had some sort of, I had a lot of anxiety about this, and a lot of panic attacks, so to speak, in seeking. And it was unbearable. There'll be times that I told you some of these stories, Maria. Very similar. And I would go into practice. So I'm maintaining what I was anxious about by perpetuating it over and over and over and over again. Rather than saying that, oh, this is just anxiety, or getting help for anxiety, then I think that I can solve it, or I can deny it, or whatever, right? Solving and denying is just perpetuating it.
And it's also it.
That, which is also it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I should probably book a one-on-one with you. Or I'll just
this is good.
Honestly, like whoever, if like, yeah, please. I'll stop for a bit again.
No. What were you saying?
Well, yeah. Okay. No, that I feel like, yeah, I it's like, as you're talking, I'm like, oh cool, Emerson's saying this, but like X teacher was saying that, and like blah blah was saying that, and then however I'm finding myself getting to a place of peace, I like latch on to still someone else's stuff, or my higher self stuff, which is like, stop fucking listening to anyone, just be here now, fuck it all. But that's all still listening.
That's still in that someone wrote that's still the cloud of knowing, right? You're still in the clouds.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when there is just this, when and you're, every time that you try to land on a cloud of knowing, of course it evaporates, and it you need another cloud. So so it just keeps on this rather than seeing that it's just free falling. There's nowhere to land. There's just this vastness, this openness, right? But there's no you behind it.
Okay, cool. Yes. And there's no abyss, because like, it's like the loneliness is so like visceral and cold and shitty, and that's all it as well, but also
that's
like
all it as well. You know what, the way that I see this now, and I know you're an artist, you know what I'm saying, all of this deliciousness, the loneliness, you know what I'm saying, it's almost like as the aliveness of this apparent character as an artist. If you look at it, you can write these deep songs from this abyss of loneliness, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, It's what is. What is can appear as this loneliness, this longing. It can appear as this, depravity. It can appear as this abundance. It's in everything.
Yeah.
And then Rosa goes, "Hey Maria, who cares?" But when there's no one behind it anymore, it just becomes this really deep loneliness. And it's kind of funny, right? It's when there's this deep loneliness and there's just this really kind of like sharp, but there's no one behind it. It almost becomes the muse, you know what I'm saying, of the art. If you look at it, right? It just becomes, I don't know if you've written songs and poetry and being kind of like heartbroken and everything. It's not happening anymore, but there's this seeming kind of like, experience of it. That's
Oh,
it
okay.
too. Yeah. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
speak in your language now of art and everything.
yeah. Yeah. It's like well, and the way that I usually write is like I kind of like dress the moment with words, like, which is I'm sure all poetry, kind of
Yeah.
like, and so that's like kind of actually a metaphor for like what's happening on like a bigger
Yeah.
scale.
It's just what is, no matter what appears. So it's not, so when there's just this directness, right? It's kind of like, how these beautiful symphonies were written, you know what I'm saying? Although this is just a story, all of this beautiful poetry arises like, like if the apparent kind of like, if it's just all happy, there'll be no kind of like really dark classical and, those deep kind of like, beautiful dark stuff. And there's also this light stuff, like it's in all of it. It's not just the lighthearted, you know, um, tippy toeing in the daisy field and everything. It's also the dropping on your knees and crying and, you know, repeating the questions, why, why? It's in all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very like versed in the underworld. Uh and I guess that is kind, yeah, but yeah, I don't know why, but that's where I hang out a lot. That's cool. I'm not hanging out there.
So it creates this, it's almost like if it's seen, and again, this is just a narrative. It's seen as like almost that it creates this narrative to maintain its narrative.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I am now like, yes, I am
Yeah.
like a queen of the night, to
Yes.
quote Whitney.
And it's beautiful, isn't it? And it's also, but when everything is seen as just this apparitions, this appearances, this seeming comings and goings, this ebbing and flowing, this ripples, right? At the still of the night is just so peaceful to see that it's all of it. It's all of it. It's almost like the arrogance that it pushes away something that's not preferred, when really it actually does not mind it everything as well, including the darkness, because there's no mind to choose or pick. It's just, it comes as it goes, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I don't need to process the darkness to get to the
Nope,
light.
nope, 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 because that's again maintaining the darkness and dwelling in it.
Yeah.
So let's
Oh
just
yeah.
reverse that Hafiz, or that poem. There's no guest house. There's no guest house. There's no guest.
Mic
There's no
drop.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just what is appearing, right? Or I used to call it, I did this talk and I called it just the open house. Whatever comes, it goes.
Mm.
There's an open door and there's a back door. And there are no doors.
There's no house.
And there's no house. There you go. You got it.
I know it now. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Casey.
Hey, how
Hey,
are you?
I'm good. Busy, but good.
Yeah,
Been
all
really
good,
good
man.
been really good the past little while. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been really exciting. Like there's tons of stuff going on. Um, yeah, I didn't mean to take over your meeting. I just
No
wanted to
worries.
comment because Maria's kind of like a little thingy, little rut, whatever it is, like little rut you're in. You're not in a rut. It's all in your head. It's kind of like that rejector that it's seeing, okay, it's just this. And you can almost bait the seeker, like, okay, it's just this. So then what's the first thing that appears after you hear that?
Beautiful. Yeah, there's
It's
no one
different
in
for
the rut.
everyone.
Yeah.
Usually rejection, like here, almost every time be like, no, it's too simple.
Yeah.
And I don't feel the peace right away. So
Yeah.
that's not it. Or I don't feel that resonance. Yeah, that's not it. But no, it really freaking is it. It's just this. So good luck. Good luck having any kind of context to put anything in ever.
Yeah.
But right away, a thought might come like, hey, well, there
And that's
seems like
also it.
plenty of
It's
context.
yeah.
And that's it, because that's what's appearing in just this. So no
Yeah.
matter what, it's just this. Everything else, the story thought is also, where's it appearing? Somewhere else? No. It's this. Anyway, sorry.
No
I'm a,
worries. Thank you for sharing.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
There's a comment here. No one to die, but can a parent fragile ego still be regarded dearly? Yeah. Again, it's just a maintenance, right? It's a maintenance when someone is caught, like this is just a story, when someone is caught lying and the liar does not want to admit that it's a lie, it will keep on making up lies until it gets beat down to submission that it is what it is, although there's no truth as well. So there's the maintenance that there is a reality, and that reality is maintained by someone, and that someone maintains a reality by basing it on others. So it's always hiding in another idea or another thought or another construct to avoid the seeming clarity that it's also a construct. So the construct or the made up keeps on making up stuff because that's all that it can do. The illusion can only make up illusions. So yeah, it's like a beautiful mistake, but there's no one that made a mistake. There's not even an ego or a mind, because those are all constructs too. Can you talk about ego death? Okay. Um, sure, but there's really no ego to die because it's not there in the first place. There's a narrative that there is a solidity, like a reality to the ego and everything. The biggest ego trip is thinking that there's an ego to be um, let go or something like that. I can't remember who said it, but yeah, it's just another trip around the sun of knowing, meaning that it just goes in circle because there's no ego to die. And there's no need for an ego to die because there's no one there in the first place to have an ego. It's just constructs, right? So there is a lot of narrative about something that cannot be talked about, something that's already this ordinariness. What I mean by ordinariness is just that this simplicity of what is seemingly appearing that defies any logic, defies any construction, defies any knowledge, defies any knowing. It's just this. And what this is, this constancy, um, this peace that cannot be known, so to speak. Um, there's a lot of constructed idea of what it is and how to achieve it and how to get it. And it's just a lot of different names for something that's nameless. Are the term seeker, me, individual, knower, ego all synonymous? I guess, but you know what? Let's just even scrap all of that. Let's just say that all words are made up. All words are made up. So I could just be saying boom, 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 and it's just the same. It's like the dogs barking, the birds chirping. So we're swimming in knowing and trying to understand the words, or trying to grasp it. But what's being said here is beyond comprehension, because even the words that are being comprehended is made up. It's like trying to make a reality out of a dream last night. It's a dream. Nothing really happened. It's a dream. Nothing was really said. It's a dream. All words are made up. And there's nothing wrong with made up stuff. It's cool. But from a seeker's, persistence of trying to know, there is usually a reference, and then usually it talks about ego, self, individual, higher self, and everything. But it's just really swimming in words, because the seeker is illusory. There's really no one seeking. It's just whatever is appearing in this vastness, in this beautifulness of this stunning ordinariness that people can call life, what is, whatever seems to be appearing. It does not require any comprehension. Even if comprehension appears, that's also it. Hey, Kelsey. Hello.
It's kind of noisy down here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Sweet. I was thinking about this the other day, ego death.
Yeah.
And the simplest way I could comprehend it is, it's the sensation of whatever you thought was something is no longer that.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
So
yeah.
it's like, I can't even say it another way. But
yeah, I like that, because you know what? It's kind of funny, right? I've been talking to a lot of DMT people, saying, and they're talking
DMT.
all DMT, yeah, people that does psychedelics and everything.
Oh,
and they always talk about ego death, and they have a variation of different kind of experiences, right, of that. So it keeps on longing for that ego death. So it almost becomes an addiction for that ego deathlessness, if you know what I'm saying, when it's already what is. So that's why I didn't want to add to that conversation. You know what I'm saying? But what you said actually is really great. It's really perfect. Yeah,
and
when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. So I was thinking, it's like a shock. It's like, oh, I believe this to be true so much.
Yeah.
But when it's not true.
Yeah.
There's a sensation of a shock. And then we label it an ego death.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
It's impossible to stay in.
It's not a state though. So it's not a state. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what's being kind of but I understand what you're saying. It's kind of nothing really matters. That kind of thing, right? It's it's just this. I don't matter. That kind of thing.
It's hard to stay in a state of unknowing all the time.
True.
But something I just personally, in my story, my own little concept is to always believe it is and it isn't simultaneously, because then there's no shock.
Yeah.
So it's I'll just give an example. If I trust somebody, I trust somebody so much, I put them on this golden pedestal, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And now I no longer trust them.
Yes.
And then what happens is there's a sensation of an ego death. But it's if I just hold trust and not trusting simultaneously, there's no shock. It doesn't matter. It's just
yeah. It's almost like having no positions, you know what I'm saying? Because when the position seems to be trust or no trust, you know what I'm saying, then it's either or, right? So when it's just seen as just this, it's almost like there's no middle, you know what I'm saying? But it's just simultaneously, right? Trust
There
or no
is no
trust.
middle.
There is no middle. Yeah.
I don't care what anybody tells anybody. There's
Yeah.
no middle.
There's no middle. Yeah.
There's no balance.
What?
There's none of that.
That's I can vouch for that.
Yeah. The years of trying to stay
You
balanced.
know, trying to find the center, right? You know, that was what it was, or trying to find it equanimity. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, and there was a time that I almost wanted to tattoo that on my arm, equanimity.
Yeah, me too. Now
Did
I
you
want
too?
to get it is and it isn't simultaneous
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
my arm. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. But like that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, equanimity is a fun one.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean? Because there's peace in anger, there's peace in all emotions.
Yeah.
You know,
But it can also be said from a point of clarity that everything is already equanimity. There's no need to find it.
yeah.
It already is, right? And that's why words get really, really tricky when trying to describe this, right? Because you know, ego that has become such a position for a lot of people that are, especially in the psychedelic world, of seeking, because it's like, you know, when you see some of this, someone, I've been doing one-on-ones with a couple of people from, you know, from that community, and then they invited me to the TikTok thing, and I was like, what the hell is this? So it's just another kind of like rabbit hole of knowing, kind of, you know,
Like, what do you mean TikTok thing?
TikTok kind of like conversations. I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like TikTok is like a lot for me.
It is.
I don't know that world.
It
I
is.
go on every once in a while. I'm like, I don't.
It
There's
is.
a lot of talking on
It
TikTok.
is. It is. It's kind of fun though. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different.
It's different. Yeah. I just got invited to a conversation. We did a one-on-one and talked about, you know, DMT and stuff like that. And again, you know what I'm saying, this is not a state, you know what I'm saying? It's not a position. And that's what seeking seems to want, is to find that position, to find that state, to find that death when it already is.
Yeah, I have nothing more to say about that.
All right.
It's just pretty like dead there. You know, just lies there.
Did you
seeing you.
did you see the poster for this? I found a new picture that I haven't used before. The poster for this event.
No.
I saw a new picture that I haven't used before. I'm like, oh, I haven't used that one.
Yeah, we'll try and meet up next week.
Yeah.
See what we can do.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that one. Thank you for clarifying that.
I seen you and I seen everybody.
So when is that YouTube channel, or, you know, going to come up?
Me?
Yeah.
Not gonna be. I'm just busy. Like I have it kind of edited. I just need to export it and then just do it.
Yeah.
Like
Is the apparent perfectionist always coming in?
I'm a professional. That's the way I say it. Like perfectionist gets like, it has like this like negative
professional.
Like,
professional.
You know, like if
yeah.
you're doing work and it's like, I might as well. But no, I want to do more and talk to Grace again. And I don't know what we talked about. I just woke up. I don't know what we talked about. Like I just woke up and then started talking to her.
Oh, nice. I haven't even seen it. Have you released it yet? Okay. All right.
But I will.
Okay.
I will. Like,
all right.
This is a reminder, so thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Kelsey.
Okay.
Bye. This is always yes. Thank you. Or this is no this, which is the same. Yeah, this, no this again. Swimming in words and trying to figure out in words is just basically maintaining the illusion that there can be, you know, you can find this in words, that you can find some surety or some solidity or some kind of truth in words. It's just what is. Yeah. Hi, Emerson. I really enjoyed your AI talk with Dr. Leela. Um, can you talk more about that? We have a scheduled one coming up, a part two. There's actually we've been talking a lot about it. Apparently, I don't know if she's here, but she's attending an AI conference. It's just really fascinating. It's just fascinating to talk about it. Yeah. But thank you. What is the connection between AI and non-duality? Um, the reason that there is a curiousness, in speaking about something like AI is because there's just this unknowability to it. Um, it's like what's being expressed here, that what is also just artificial and seemingly intelligent. So there is this appearance of reality, but it's artificial. There's this appearance of solidity, but it's also not real. So it's just really fascinating, and seemingly a lot of there's a panic, what I'm saying, with AI, um, you know, taking over or something like that, when it's just also what is. So it just creates another separation when there's not really any separation. You can say that this is also AI already, but that's just another idea, isn't it? It's fascinating to talk about it too, especially with Dr. Leela. Um, she's been doing a lot of work with AI and virtual reality, and yeah. This might be a silly question, but how about enlightenment? How do we acquire it when there's no one to acquire it? Um, can't really make sense of that question, but let's just say it just in the story, right? In the seeming, seeking for the pursuit of so-called enlightenment, although there's no one to get enlightened. Um, what seems to appear is that there's a stumbling upon this simplicity that's being talked about. It's not a cause and effect because it already is this simplicity, this inherent innocence, so to speak. Um, so there's this ignorance of this boundlessness, that is the very essence of this innocence. Um, so it's just this, right? So there's no attaining because it already is. It's not a silly question because, a lot of seeming seekers, there is a, if some seekers are going to be, blunt about it, there's a longing for that enlightenment or that clarity or that peace or that knowing. But all of that, let's just put it in one bunch, is a next moment, so to speak. But there are no next moments. So when it sees that all of that next moment, when it discards the idea that there is a next, or there's something coming, or there's something that's going to happen or drop or and everything, then there's clarity. It does not have to be called enlightenment. It doesn't have to be called anything, awakening or whatever, because there's no one behind it. So in trying to focus and seemingly kind of like when there is a focusing on the past or the future when it comes into clear focus in just what is, then everything gets illuminated like, okay, there's really nothing needed. This is already what is. And even saying that, is too much. Because when there is a focusing on what is, although there's no one focusing, when there is a clarity, it's kind of like when someone can rubs his eyes and just sees that, okay, oh yeah, wow, it's a beautiful morning. All that's left is just this stunning ordinariness. It's just this. So it doesn't try to look for tomorrow and then imagine what happened yesterday, to see this glorious day, to see this presence without a source, to see this immediacy without any kind of restrictions. The seeming restrictions or the seeming obscuring seemingly comes from the ideas of yesterday and then the imagination of what's to come. When it's seen, when there's this, there's a fixing, although there's nothing to fix, there's kind of like a focusing, let's just say focusing, that all that there is this unknowableness. Then there's like an eruption of this silence of all of this, dueling ideas of this or that. When the center seemingly falls out, there's a free falling. There's no you free falling, just a free falling. Everything that seems to come falls away. Everything that seems to appear drops away. And there's no one trying to grasp it anymore because everything is just free falling. It's just the simplicity of it all. It's just seeing this empty masterpiece. But there's no one behind it. There's no artist. There's no author. You're not the author. You're not the creator. It's just this. It breaks that shell of ignorance that there's a you in this, meaning that you're responsible for what is happening, or there's you that needs to get out of the way to see what is clearly already. So when all of that position seems to drop and there's just this seeming, no positionlessness, the rug gets pulled under the feet. There's a free falling and there's just this simplicity, ordinariness, appearance. Can you say something about the thought that how can you accomplish anything in the world unless you at least are operating under the belief that you have free will, like getting a degree, a good job, a wife, a husband, success, etc. Emerson had to put all the background stuff together for this channel. Lots of work to get to this point. When it's just seen that there is just this, it's going to appear, you know what I'm saying, that there is a choosing. It's going to appear that there is a belief. It's going to appear that there's someone doing. But all of this appearance, like a dream, it's just like an ephemeral appearance of something that never really is there. So there's no seriousness in claiming on what seems to happen. So for example, in doing this channel, there is a seeming kind of like, editing and everything, but that's just what's happening. There's no one really behind it. A thought, the idea that might come that there's someone behind it is just a thought or an idea. It vanishes. What is temporal, you know what I'm saying, is there's no reality to it. But there is this permanence that seems to be constant, is all encompassing, which is the silence and everything, the quietness and everything. Again, when everything seems to fall apart or everything seems to disentangle, all that's really left is just this stunning ordinariness that might appear as a choice or no choice, might appear as, this or that, might appear as accomplishing anything or nothing. It doesn't really matter. it's not trapped in that experience of me doing anything or me not doing anything, because it's just what is. Kelsey. Hello.
So, what was I going to say? I almost forgot. I love what you just said there. And I love that question. Like
Yeah.
being an artist and having this like ownership on
Yeah.
what happens. And there's this, I'm going to bore you with something, but there's
No
a
worries.
really good book called Flow, which is a very famous book. And the way that he describes flow in the book is that like all artists actually create their best work when their sense of identity dissolves.
Yes.
So to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
into a flow state, your sense of time and your sense of identity dissolves, and then things just happen on their own. So like as an artist, I would love to say like, oh, I manifested this, oh,
Yeah.
I did this, oh, I did that, but really it all happens on its own. I really can't control any of it. And
Yeah.
I would love to say like I manifested this, but I can't anymore. Like
Yeah.
I literally can't,
Yeah.
because it's just a story.
It is, isn't it? And that's the brilliance of it, right? Because, and the humility that there's no one here that is manifesting this. There's no one here. It's kind of like funny. I really love that you said that about flow, right? Because what seems to be when I always get asked the question of how did this happen, and the usual response is did not happen. It's nothing that I heard. It's nothing that I read. It's nothing that anyone has said. Rather, with whatever, I'm saying. Seemingly, I stumbled into the flow that there's no one there, which was for me was the art of DJing. Saying, and
Yeah.
there's just the flow, saying, and there's no one that can claim that. And when it was just seen that it's all this, it's already this flowing, and it's also no one is behind any of this. And it's hard to explain that, right? It's kind of like an artist when they're painting or something, kind of like when you're doing your artwork and everything, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. You're like, oh shoot, I have to go to sleep and everything. But
Yeah.
it's just
That's exactly it. And
yeah.
it's funny because I would black out and create stuff.
Yeah.
And it would be like, my best work, like this new
Yes.
stuff. And I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And then I came across that book,
Yeah.
and it described that experience. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't put language to it. Because
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So I like that book because it puts language to it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's when people kind of like ask me when I do my introductions, there's no choosing or there's no trying to get to the flow, but somehow flow happens.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just this, or even answering these questions, right? Because there's no restriction. There's just this freedom, you know what I'm saying, that what is being said does not really matter. And there's no rule book and there's no kind of like a blueprint to what is being said anymore. So
Yeah.
there's just this poetry that seems to appear, in talking about, volcanic, serenity, so.
Volcanic serenity. I like that.
And then it just flows into this, this volcanic serenity that seems to, melt all of the thoughts and everything into just this nothing, right? And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And sometimes I have to keep on checking the clock because I don't even know when time flows, because there's really no time when this seeming flow that is just what is. Or that some people call it it's just what is. It's just what seems to be appearing, and you can call it flow. It can't even be called anything. It can't be like sometimes I play the piano.
All there is flow.
Yeah.
All there is, and then
yeah,
I feel like maybe concepts and identity
you can even call one time I
illusion.
called it flowing stillness, and I like that. It's just this stillness and it's flowing at the same time. Right. So it's just this dynamic stillness. And in that dynamic stillness, there's this art that's happening. And it's wow. You know what I'm saying? It's just astonishing of how this appearance can seem to appear out of nothing.
And Alan Watts talks about that a little bit in his book, The Art of Zen.
Yeah.
And he like talks about like the monk experience.
Yeah.
I just like the way he describes it. But he says like the monks would always say like you can't try to be spontaneous.
Yes, right. Yeah.
As soon as you try to be spontaneous,
Exactly.
spontaneous, all there is spontaneity.
It is. It is beautiful. Yeah.
And it's like the amount of times he says spontaneous in that book. Like I love it. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
every 3 words it's like spontaneous.
Yeah.
Like,
Spontaneous. Yeah.
you know,
I like him because, you know, there's artistry in what he speaks. It's like a beat poet to me, right? You know, the way that he talks about stuff, and and I like the story of how he left. You know, he was a priest. Did you know that he was a priest?
I don't know really anything about
Yeah.
him. I just
Yeah.
love him.
That he was a priest, and then he did not like the structure of it. So he was just this wild, crazed up alcoholic, you know, guy that did lectures with a lot of brilliance. You know what I'm saying? So there seems to be this oppositeness, right? So there's this clarity and there's this fogginess with everything, but that's what is.
Yeah.
It's not being right or wrong. It's just what is, and I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you,
Is my
Emerson.
glasses crooked?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know too. Sometimes I put up a video, I'm like, whoa, these glasses is like
That's funny, actually. Cool.
Oh, question. And adding to that, you know, to that question of, you know, Emerson had to put it all background stuff together for this channel. Lots of work to get this point. I don't see it as work. I love designing you know, I don't even have an art background really, but you know, when I do those thumbnails and everything, there's just this flow. There's just this flow. Talking is flow. So it's almost like I get excited, you know, saying talking about this because there's just this flow. There's no one here that's right, and there's no one here that's wrong as well. There's just this flow of this flowing stillness that seems to speak about stillness, although it can't speak about stillness because it's already what is. I really love these meetings because after the meeting, I feel so much peace and release. And seemingly, it seems to be out of focus after these meetings. I get this all the time, right? Because seemingly, and this is just a story, right? You know, although what's being expressed here that there's nothing to do, there's a trying to understand. But when it's in the flow, so to speak, there's nothing really that's needed to be understood. There's nothing that needs to be comprehended. This is not a teaching, so there's nothing that needs to be captured. There's just this flow, this seeming exchange of you know pointless ideas about something that cannot be pointed at, and in this radiance of this emptiness, then there's just this seeming peace that there's nothing to get. But sometimes, you know, what happens is after these meetings is that although there's nothing to get, it restarts again in trying to think that is there something? Is there nothing to get? Which becomes another doing, which becomes another understanding. So it tries to comprehend what seems to appear. So this is almost kind of like a, you know, it's just there's nothing to, there's just no positions here. There's no points, there's no center, there's nothing. And then sometimes, there seems to be a confusion or a getting back into that cloud of knowing, that it seems to chase what it needs to know, and it keeps on seeking because it's on a need to know basis. When the knower sees that there's nothing to know, then the knower ceases to exist. It doesn't matter anymore. But seemingly, it will convince itself that there's something that needs to be known. So that keeps on coming back and wanting to know more. But there's nothing to know. Maria.
Okay. So, oh, I'm really dark.
Yeah,
here,
I can
though.
see you. Okay.
So, okay, so it's a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have like a gift, quote unquote, for
Yeah.
like music, words,
Yeah.
and communication. And even if I spend my entire life like lying on the sofa, scrolling on Instagram, not doing any art,
Mm-hmm.
and just eating French fries,
Mm-hmm.
and drinking whiskey,
Yeah.
that's equal to if I would have like written these amazing works of art that would have inspired millions.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay.
And the struggle with that is where the suffering lies.
Yes, because
You know.
that's where the most suffering in my life
Yeah.
comes from. This, like, I have all these gifts,
Yeah.
quote unquote, inside, and I don't. Yeah.
And I can relate to that because there was a character here that wanted to be relevant. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
I want to be super special.
Yeah, wanted to be super special. And
Yeah.
what this, what this, I talked about this in another meeting, but what this unconditional love is seems to do nothing but love, but it also paradoxically takes away everything. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's like like there is this, there's this unconditional love for what is, but it also takes away everything, including that specialness, including that seeming ambition to be something better, or that relevance and everything, because there's nothing relevant anymore.
Yeah, and because there's
and that's the
quite
flow, right? There's no you in the way.
right. So everything's art, basically.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then it's quite cool that we like make art. It's like, yeah, anyway. But so there's a lot of narrative there's a lot of people who I kind of follow, and it's still this like, yeah, like living your truth and living as a king and a queen on this earth, and like the 5D consciousness, all that stuff. And it's very seductive.
There's nothing wrong or right about that. But when it's seen that that's illusory, then you walk past it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you see this beautiful like rose and everything. It's very seductive, but you know that you can never grab it because it's a hologram. The moment you grasp it, it disappears, right? Like, how do I get that rose? And then when it's seen that it's irrelevant because it's just an illusion, no matter how seductive it is.
Right. And I have the same with men. Like, I'm like, I need to find myself a king who will like live up to all the stuff. And it's like, when you were talking before, that kind of just like, it was like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And that's And that's what, and that's kind of like the kind of like what Kelsey was saying, that ego death, right? You're kind of like, huh, here I was.
Yeah,
Here I
but
was so convinced that I had to matter, that I had to, to
Yeah.
be relevant and to be popular and everything. When all of that seems to kind of like, it doesn't matter, then it's just like, oh. But go ahead,
it's
sorry.
a come down.
It's a come down, yeah. It's almost like a loss of that specialness, right? A loss of that, it's kind of like, when I was watching this TV show. I can't remember what its name, but it's a whole bunch of musicians, and then when when they were in a flow, so to speak, right? They was just magic. There was just this magic that seems to appear. It's almost like being in love with whatever it
Yeah.
is, and that's hard to do because there's no you to fall in love. Meaning that it's just what is. It's just when it's in this constant flow of nothingness, right? This astonishing vastness without any center or without any points, right? So there's just this open curiousness of what seems to appear, like being innocent with what is. It's like this childlike wonder. You know what I'm getting at? It's like,
Yeah.
and I know you know that when you're creating music, right? There's this innocence to it. There's this childlikeness to it that seems to create this beatific, like, artistry that is so deep and so whatever seems to appear, right? And then there's no
Yeah.
time, there's no you, and somehow it's kind of like this. This does not have an author. This does not have an artist, but it's art. The
Yeah.
sun appears, you know what I'm saying, and everything. So the knower wants to know, where's the source of this, because I want to get there. But there's no source. See, that's the artistry. Kind of like what Kelsey was saying, that it's this and not this. Meaning it's all this. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of sweet then, that like it can't find the source because it is the source.
Yeah.
And
But there's no, yeah, but that, not even that, you know what I'm saying? Because the moment that you think you're the source again, then it becomes
yeah.
no ownership. You know what I'm saying? Even if ownership appears, it's irrelevant. Ownership or no ownership, it's irrelevant. But go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No. I think I've just spent like most of my life really wanting to be special all the time.
Yeah.
And,
it's almost like when you lose your specialness, then it's really special.
And I also, even my specialness goes as far as like thinking it's special that I thought I was special all the time. It's like, oh God, I'm so special. And yeah. And I right. And when it loses special, it's just yeah, as you say, it's just like an ordinariness where like,
yeah,
I'm
just
schmo,
stunning, this ordinariness, right? It's just like, I don't need to be special. This stunning ordinariness is all that there is, right? What we tend to see as ordinary, like the clouds, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like the coffee, right? The coffee, this conversation is ordinary, but it's so stunningly obvious that it is what is. We don't need to dream up something because this is already a dream.
And we don't need to hold on to anything.
No, but even if that happens, that's also a dream, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's being okay even when it's not okay. It's kind of like seeing the perfection in what is, what seems to be appearing. It's like losing all controls and finding liberation of that.
Yeah, it's like the thing that the image that keeps coming to me is that it's like a broadening. It's like a
It is. There is a, there's this seeming kind of like tightness and this kind of like, like this shielding, this seeming kind of like this shield of ideas and everything. And when that dissipates and when it becomes this clarity and there's this vastness, right? This boundlessness, there's no more seams, there's no edges, there's no barriers, there's no borders. It's just this, all that's really left is this stunning ordinariness.
Yeah, and and the edges are somehow like softer.
It is, yeah. Some people usually, when I do privates, they're like, it's soft, huh? And I'm like, yeah,
yes,
it's really soft.
Because my spiritual, it was not soft.
Yes,
Very
because
edgy.
because there's an authority usually. Every
Yeah.
time that there is a message or a communication or um, you know um, um, a structure, you know what I'm saying? When there's a structure, then there are edges, then there are sharpness, you know what I'm saying? Then there's barriers. So
Mm.
once all of those edges, kind of like, that's why I'm saying, when there is, I used to get caught up in authority figures of spirituality, right? Of what they say, or the poets and everything. And they were I had no idea, but they were the gatekeepers.
Oh my God. Yeah. Don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you walk through those gatekeepers and all of those words just crumble, they just they just vanish, and there's this softness to everything,
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
no one that has the truth anymore. Simply, there's no one anymore.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's just this flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelsey goes, oh, Gunver goes, this meeting is part of the flow. Yeah. And Kelsey goes, the concept of talent can be prison. Yes. Hey, Gunver,
Hey, Emerson.
how are you? Good to see you.
I'm here. You too. Thank you. Well, I struggled with a lot of headaches, and it finally listed just now. So, feeling better.
Good.
I just wanted to realize that I always known this, like this innocence, this softness,
Yeah.
because everything I've
That's
done,
what's inherent, is the innocence, isn't it? Right?
like I'm also an artist, and when I started out, everything was really so nice. It was the minute I decided to enter an art school that it all started to crumble, and to
Yeah.
enter the whole art world, and everything became so serious.
Yeah.
But the work done before that was just so innocent and so pure and so nice. And I recognize this very much. It's like because all the art went away here. I had to give it up. It wasn't working anymore because the character wanted to be special and famous and all of this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And so I gave it away. But the creativity, I share this understanding of the pain that Maria, she just spoke about. Like there's this talent, and it was somehow working when, let's say, when the character was not taking credit for it.
Yeah.
And the minute the character started to take credit for it, it actually crumbled. But now there's just this creativity back again, and I recognize this purity because it's just flowing and just happening by itself, and there's no plan or no wish to be special or better or anything. It's simply just coming by itself, and it's in many different kind of ways because this character knows lots of different creativity. So it's just such a joy. It's like every day there's some creativity.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's not trying to stop the flow, because when there is, and again, this is also what is, right? But when there is a seeming kind of like, I'm getting into the flow, meaning that the person gets into the flow, then it seems to obstruct it, doesn't it? Right? It's kind of like, it's really,
Totally. Yeah.
it's wow, and but when it's just seen, well, not really seen, it's just this expansiveness, right? When it's kind of like hands off, then
Yeah.
there's just this, um when I do some of these videos, you know what I'm saying, and I don't have any experience, but there's an artist, you know what I'm saying, that seems to flow, right? Creating these thumbnails, creating these opening sequences for the videos and everything. Although it doesn't have an experience, and it does not need to be experienced with anything.
I don't know what you
It's,
mean.
yeah.
And it doesn't need to have any experience. It doesn't need to have anything. It's like I just invent it as it goes, you know, like I'm not the inventor, but it's just sort of like inventing itself. It's
It
just
is.
it seems like there's somebody here learning new stuff the whole time, but there's no one here learning
There's no one.
anything.
Yeah.
It's just the doing somehow, but it's recognized as a creative doing that there somehow is a kind of like recognition of has always been there.
Yeah.
But before there was just this character who wanted to take credit for all of it.
Yeah.
And another thing I recognize with this creativity, I wish I'd never gone into the spiritual circus and the seeking.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it happened and fine, but I have always known this because when I used to paint, it would just be like for hours and hours and hours and hours, and there would be no one there. It's so obvious that when there's no one there, there's just this. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's the minute that when there's someone there, there's trouble, you know?
Yes. It's really funny, right? Because and again, you know what? In my fumbling pursuit of enlightenment, you know, I stumbled upon the simplicity of this inherent flow, right? It was like and when I stumbled upon the simplicity, there was no one there.
Yeah, and it's like I wish I just stopped because teachers are talking about this, you know. Yeah. I mean, many teachers are speaking about the flow and then when there's no one there, everything. Yeah, but I've always known this. I mean,
yeah.
Why did I go down this whole seeking path to try and get to know this when I always known it? It's like I remember it from my childhood. I remember this creativity. It's so. That's just this joy. That's just this complete.
That's what it is. You know what? My first toy when I was a kid was a record player. You know, saying, and I grew up in a record store. So I've always, and then again, this is just a story, right? So when I used to get really stressed out and really kind of like, you know, I had a lot of anxiety about seeking and depression. So I would just, you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to DJ. So I would just play music. And then I did not really see it, but that's what is being longed for, that serenity, that flow, that seeing that this is just this empty magnificence, right? And there's no one doing any of it.
No, but it has been present so many times.
Yeah.
I mean,
it always presents itself, doesn't it? Right? It's like, here it is, here it is, here it is.
Yeah, here it is. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's somebody taking that for granted and then not recognizing it for what it is. Like,
yes.
Because of course there aren't any somebody, but there's some twist, like you said, this record player was your first toy. I got this tiny sewing machine. And truth is, I've been sewing since I was a child, and I'm still sewing. And the same with knitting, and I'm still knitting. And it's because I recognize this innocence in this.
Yeah.
It's like it's seeking itself through these very, very simple, and then it has the capacity to create whatever, even when there's obstacles involved or seemingly like, oh, I don't know how to do this. It's happening anyway. It's why did I go down this whole seeking path to figure that one out when I already
But that's
knew.
also what is, you know what I'm saying? That's also the artistry. Yeah.
It's
kind of like what I said, right? Like I was stunned, slapped by the ordinary over and over again, right? But it does not require a single thought, right? It's always this. It does not require thinking. It does not require any of it. But thinking happens. That's also what is. It's like when I'm doing a lot of this DJing and everything, right? There's just this. I'm like, where is this coming? There's creativity coming from. And I think that's what it was. I was like, oh, wait a second. It's not coming from anyone. It's not coming from anyone special, anyone, that has talent or whatever. It's just what is. And that's art. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm just asking myself sometimes, or maybe now in this conversation that happened between you and Maria, and like this question comes up, like, I understand that's also what it is, and it happened and it was meant to happen. But I just wonder where it went wrong, where that simplicity, why wasn't that enough?
When you questioned it.
big timer.
Yeah, when and again, that's also innocence. So when you question it, you know what I'm saying, the innocence appears as not innocent, which is also innocence. And it goes into this rabbit hole of seeking, you know what I'm saying, back to that innocence. But when the questioning is also innocence itself already.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also like even like
So there's no original sin, you know what I'm saying?
no, there's no original sin,
Yeah.
but I can see the difference between there's an obviousness between this pure creating and this, let's say, false creating because you want to be the best or you want to be special or you want to be known.
Exactly, yeah.
Because all of a sudden this creativity became about me, how this me could be in focus the whole time. And the art became more and more difficult to actually make. And I just ended up throwing the whole lot out, you know, and stopped making art altogether. But then I started the spiritual circus instead.
Yeah.
So, because then I literally thought something was wrong and something needed to be corrected.
The thought that there's another, the
Yeah.
thought that there is a next, the thought that there is separation, basically. The moment that a thought appears, it's a separation, but there's nothing wrong with the thought of separation because it's not real.
No, plus I believe that, I guess that everything one does in this seeming dream
Yeah.
is, in lack of better words, in search for that innocence.
Yeah.
Just it seemed to become further and further away, harder and harder to find. And the deeper I went in the wrong direction, like in the wrong, the harder, the more they looked, I need to fix this. I need to fix it. I'm wrong. This whole.
And then if that's not enough, then you believe that someone else can fix it. And that's when it goes into a crazy turn, isn't it? When you think that someone's got the answer for this.
Yeah, of course, because you start losing yourself. You like we once spoke about. I had no understanding of myself anymore.
Yeah,
I lost all understanding.
It's almost like do you think that you lost that innocence?
But have you? No, not really.
No, because you know, even thinking that it's a loss of innocence is also innocence. You know, it's all innocence. It's madness, right? Because you're thinking that you lost something that is innocence, you know, but even the thought of losing something is also innocence. Even a thought that you did wrong is also innocence. Even a thought of any thought that appears is because it's not real is innocence.
Yeah, it's innocence taking itself on this journey all the time.
But there's no you that's innocent, it's just innocence.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just innocence doing whatever innocence is doing. And apparently it looks the way it looks.
Exactly.
Or I experience the way it's experienced, whether the character wants it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautifully stunning though, right? It's just the simplicity of it all. The simplicity. And the complexity seems to create, it's just a web. It's like a web of, lies, basically, all these complexities. And then once you see through the web of lies, you're like, oh, it's already home. So you get caught up in all of these ideas about how to get there. You create this maze and ideas and everything of how to get back into innocence when it's innocence all along. Even that complexity of web of lies and everything is also innocence.
Yeah, but then maybe I have a question like, why does innocence, it's probably a question coming from the character,
Okay. That's okay.
I mean, any question and it's innocence anyway. So let's just question so why does innocence want to move itself away from innocence? I understand all is
because that's also innocence. See?
Yes. Or why doesn't he want to stay in the simplicity and beauty of that innocence rather than
because it's innocence at play? It would not be innocence if it did not have any, saying any kind of like play. It's innocent. If you look at a child, you know what I'm saying? It's just innocence at play. If you look at puppies, it's innocence at play.
Yes, but why don't we stay there? I mean, why don't we go down the road with the murders?
Because there's no one choosing to do it. That would not be innocence anymore if there's a choice.
Yeah, but that's maybe why it's felt like I made all those wrong choices.
So even the illusion that I'm choosing this is also innocence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not felt like that when you're on the road.
Exactly. Yeah. It just feels that there's something wrong, that
Yeah, it
there's
feels
something
like
off. Yeah.
yeah, it feels like you're on the road back to innocence somehow, or
Yes.
looking for that
Yeah.
innocence.
But
Uh,
it's already, even that is innocence, even that thinking that there's a road back or whatever. It's like play, right? I don't know if you've seen a couple of kids play, like uh and it's
and
beautiful.
more and more these days, I notice these children. Like I once heard you say you didn't see the sunset for 10 years because you were so busy meditating.
Yeah.
I feel yeah, I feel now that I'm seeing these more children that in a way I didn't even want them myself back then, like because I was just so busy with this character, like
Yeah.
now
Or
I see these children and I see these puppies and and it just looks so much fun,
it
like
is. It is just, it's again, going back, you keep on repeating the title, it's going back to that stunning ordinariness, right? I'm like, oh wow, this is stunningly ordinary, but it is what it is. And seemingly there is a longing for something other than ordinary when this ordinariness is already extraordinary. It's stunning, right? It's like,
it's more than extraordinary.
yeah.
It's like you don't need all the other stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. None of
even
this
if that's
imagined
so.
longings for something that it already is, right? So,
Wow, thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to answer one more question and then we're going to take a break. Um, Question here. If we imagine a world without humans, but with animals and plants, etc., where are where are the purposes and meanings? Where is good and bad and itself? Are all human imaginary concepts? Yes. So the concept will just keep on coming up with concepts that there is something meaningful or non-meaningful, wrong or right, when there's really no opposition. What is being seen is not separate from what is seeing it. There's actually really no subject and object aside from a construct that there is separation. So in the absence of all ideas of the idea, which is the original idea of separation, which is you, it is already this stunning ordinariness. We're going to end it with that. Thank you so much, everyone. Love you all. We're going to take an hour break. I'm excited for the next one. It's the best one ever.
Oh, yes,
All
I knew
right.
it.
It's
Thanks,
going to be the best
Emerson.
one ever.
Emerson.